That was Hitman, a 2023 American romantic action comedy. Produced and directed by Richard Linklater, who co-wrote the screenplay with Glenn Powell. Based on a 2001 Texas Monthly magazine article.
Yeah, about a real guy.
Really? This is based on a true story?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Why didn't they put that at the beginning of the movie?
They
based
did.
on a true story.
They did? Mm-hmm. The movie starts with a text that says, this is based on a true story mostly. We made some stuff up.
Really?
And then it ends with pictures of the real guy and says, but we made up this one element of it.
I saw the pictures at the end, but I don't remember that at the beginning. But I believe you. I think I was making dinner like right as I hit play.
Yeah.
The movie was starring Glenn Powell, Adria Arjona, maybe, Austin Emilio, and Retta. Just Retta? She goes by just Retta now?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since I remember from the TV show she was doing that, Parks and Rec.
Okay. If you say so. The official IMDb plot synopsis for Hit
Spaceman. Hit Spaceman.
You gotta pause. Hit Man.
Yeah.
A professor moonlighting as a hitman of sorts for his city police department descends into dangerous, dubious territory where he finds himself attracted to a woman who enlists his services.
Yeah. That's 100% the plot of this movie.
That's the setup. Sure. Yeah. Not too shabby on IMDb's part. We watched it. Now we're going to talk about it. What did you think of Hit Man?
It's weird, right? The word Hitman is one word.
It is one word, but
and
it's
they
not.
split it up for no reason.
It's Hit Spaceman.
Hit Spaceman. James.
What?
I think I have an unpopular opinion on this movie.
What's your unpopular opinion?
I think a lot of people are seeing this as just like a fun, easy to watch, like enjoyable movie.
Right.
I didn't like this movie.
You didn't like it?
I don't think I liked it.
Why didn't you like it?
It's a little disturbing. I don't know. I have a couple thoughts.
So it's a black comedy, and you historically don't love black comedies.
I don't think we need to bring history into this.
I'm just telling you. I'm not completely shocked that you wouldn't love the subject matter and find it a little disturbing.
Here's the thing. We have, I guess maybe a part of black comedies is the main characters are comedically bad.
Right.
Our two main characters are bad people. Right. And I don't know. I'm not rooting for them.
The two. So you think the guy who is the titular hit man, is a bad person?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Well, it might be spoilers to talk about.
I mean, through most of the movie, he is not a bad hit man.
How about this? The girl he forms a relationship with, right?
Right.
She knows him to be a hitman and falls in love with him.
Sure. I mean, she
falls in love
has some relationship red flags she should probably look at.
She falls in love with the murderer, James. Is that not a huge red flag?
I while I was watching it was thinking maybe you shouldn't be with this person. Like, as the person who's not really a hit man, why would you want to date this person?
Yeah.
Besides physical attraction.
Well,
like, that's pretty much the only reason.
100% what it was. And the ego boost of like, she thought that he was
cool,
a cooler man than he was.
Right.
But yeah, the woman that he's falling for is a woman that falls for a cold-blooded murderer.
Right.
That's just disturbing to me. Okay, so apart from that, yes, I don't like this idea where I'm rooting for bad people. And yes, I do think that Glenn Powell's character is a bad person in this movie. And if you disagree, then we have to talk spoilers. We have to talk spoilers if you disagree with that.
We can talk around the ending of the movie.
What he did was the wrong thing to do.
Sure. I agree. Does that make you a bad person? You doing the wrong thing?
That type of wrong thing? Yes, it does. Yes.
Every now and then.
Once in a while.
Once in a while.
Okay. So apart from that element of it.
Sure.
There's a couple more things that I just didn't like. One is it felt so rote a lot of the times.
Okay.
Like a lot of the dialogue just felt very much like, hey, we're doing a movie now. This is the kind of scene we're going to have right now. Especially when you get like Retta and like the other AV person behind the scenes and all them talking like, okay, let's switch pants. And like, haha, I like these pants. I almost thought he'd like fall over trying to get the pants on. And then, so that's one aspect of it.
Okay.
It just felt a little bit rote. And then two, like Glenn Powell, maybe it's the actor, maybe it's the characters he was playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little unbelievable. This guy
that he's
like,
a nerd.
Yeah, the dweeby professor, and it's Glenn Powell, you know. And then like he puts on these most ridiculous costumes. It just feels so silly, right? It's like, I guess it's comedy, but it's so
it's a black
like,
comedy.
but it's so like silly, right?
It's a comedy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's supposed to be silly.
Yeah.
I mean, the costumes weren't outlandish.
Well, some of them were outlandish.
Like what?
Well, I don't remember specifically all the costumes, but some of them he'd like, you know, he would totally transform and have like a ridiculous accent and stuff. He doesn't need to have an accent.
He would like style his hair and wear different clothes, but
he would pretend to be American Psycho.
Sure, which means you wear a suit and slick your hair back.
And pretend to be American Psycho. Like he was Bateman in that moment.
Sure, but I understand what you're saying, and I agree that it was a little silly, but it wasn't over the top silly. I don't think
it was over the top. No,
right.
It felt very like Val Kilmer.
He wasn't cross-dressing, and you know what I mean?
He was one step away from that.
No, he wasn't. Please.
But did you buy him as this like dweeby professor who like could instantly turn into Ray, who is like the suavest guy who always has the right thing to say? Like, if you can just do that, just be him. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's where he ends up.
It is.
Towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I think, what was the question? Did I believe that he could just switch in and out?
Did you believe him as the dweeby professor?
No, but that's okay.
Who just likes cats. And
I mean, it was clearly, it's not like this is the first movie to take a hot person, quote unquote, ugly them up, and then over the course of the movie, make them realize that they're hot. You know what I mean? This
totally
is
agree.
a tried and true comedic element.
Totally agree. And here's another thing the movie did.
Okay.
This bothered me too much, more than it should have. Okay.
Okay.
He's talking about the fact that he has cats, right?
Right.
And like we're to take that as like, oh, he's a stay-at-home guy with cats. You know, he's a nerdy guy with cats.
Right.
And then
only losers have
cats. And then we see his cats.
Uh-huh.
It's like, you just told us you had cats. Why even tell us you have cats if we're going to see them anyway? Just don't tell us you have cats and we'll see the cats.
Because I think there was a joke about the cats.
Then the cats were eating out of a bowl and their names were Id and Ego.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of fun, right? He named their cats Id and Ego.
Yeah.
Then the next scene, he's a professor and he's teaching his class about the id and the ego and the superego.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
where you were making the connections. It's great.
No, it's
great filmmaking.
No, it's doing everything twice. It's enough to know like, okay, you're kind of a nerdy guy because you have cats and you named them id and ego.
Sure.
But you've already told us you're a nerdy guy that has cats. And you have a whole scene where you're talking about the id and the ego.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're repeating your things, your jokes, or like your insights twice, as if we're not going to catch it the first time or the second time.
I don't.
Like talk about it.
So the cats are a separate thing than the names of the cats. I understand they're kind of linked here, but like, I think there was a joke about a cat or the cats or the guy at home. The single guy at home with cats.
He was
and
narrating.
Then they showed the single guy at home with cats.
No, he was narrating himself. He's like, I'm just a boring guy with cats, you know? And then it showed him in his apartment with cats.
Right.
But like, just show us you're in your apartment with cats and we'll get it without this really clunky narration, which doesn't come back later until, maybe a couple times.
Sure.
And then they're called I like that you just kind of see the bowls and they're called id and ego. That's great. But then to immediately talk about id and ego in class is like, we'll talk about some other psychology thing. Why it's like you only know one psychology thing, and it's id and ego, and like so you have to just plaster it everywhere. I'm surprised we didn't see him later like writing id and ego on like napkins.
That would have been ridiculous. They did it just enough, okay? 2 references to id and ego. I think they were just reiterating the point that the reason why this nerdy guy can act and figure out what people want and then give it to them in the form of like his undercover work as a hit man is that he was this psychology professor who was in deep on these theories of like personalities and attraction and stuff like that. I
agree.
And so even though he, before the movie started, didn't necessarily apply it to his own life, over the course of the movie, he gains confidence. He figures out that like he can make people like him, essentially.
Yeah.
To me, the setting up of the cats, the id and the ego, I mean, I didn't even second guess all of that stuff. Now that you're linking it all together, it's pretty masterful, to be honest. That they linked the cats with his psychology.
No, it had that been it, that fine.
Sure.
It's just they did it more.
It kept your brain engaged. No, you went from the cats to the cat bulls to him talking in the class as a professor.
No, it's following that classic advice of like show and then tell and then show again and then tell again. That's what it's doing.
Sure. I don't know.
Anyway, I think that's a minor
Didn't bother me at all.
Minor gripe.
Didn't even clock it.
The fact is, like, we're supposed to be rooting for these bad people.
They're not. It's a black comedy, Zach. You're not watching The Silence of the Lambs and being asked to root.
No, but
for the cannibal.
Hold on. But aren't they presented as if they're not bad people? Like, even the fact that you think that Glenn Powell is a good man.
Okay, like all the people in this movie, right, who are trying to hire a hit man.
Yeah.
Are all they black? Are all they bad people?
Yes.
You think you trying to hire a hitman immediately makes you a bad person?
Yeah. You don't?
I don't agree.
Really?
Yeah.
So, you're hiring someone to murder someone, right?
No, I get that. Kind of it's not a good thing to do.
That's what the transaction is.
I agree. But to label somebody a bad person for making a mistake.
What is it? A mistake. What does it take to become a bad person, James?
I don't know.
Not hiring a hitman.
Attempting. They didn't actually do it.
Well, they did hire someone.
They hired what they thought was a hitman.
Yes. Sure. They hired a hit man.
Right.
Also, I suppose it's true because it's based on a true story, but why do the police use a non-police person to do this? That seems
if you're gonna split hairs on anything, that I would start there probably, because I was asking the same question towards the beginning, and then I decided it was a black comedy and I should just roll with it. And I don't know, that seemed to work for me, but I'm not sure.
The black comedy argument
makes
sense to me. If you're like, in a black comedy, you do root for the bad people. Everyone's bad in a black comedy. But you're saying it's a black comedy and also no one in this movie is bad.
I just never once thought to label people bad people because it was clearly an elevated universe where like normal people get frustrated and they try to hire, a hit man and they don't get to go through with it. And then they go on. I mean, they showed multiple people that like went on and got over their relationship issue and we're happy and we're glad that like they got stopped in the moment. I mean, they weren't bad people. They were about to make a horrible decision for sure. One that I certainly wouldn't make or recommend anybody make, but I don't think they were bad people.
Okay. Well, the bar, I'm interested in where your bar is.
In this world, I don't think they were bad people.
This world wasn't that heightened. I think it was our universe.
It was already a universe where a non-cop is being sent in to do cop undercover work.
That is our universe because this is based on a true story. And that guy was a non-cop being sent to do this. That part is the real part. That's why I don't even split hairs about that.
What about like, what's that John Cusack movie where he's a hitman and he goes to his high school? reunion.
Mm-hmm.
You know
3
what I'm talking
words.
about?
Yeah, it's 3 words.
What about that movie?
I didn't like that movie at all.
Because he's a hitman and you can't watch a hitman and like get.
I can watch a hitman.
But what was the problem with that movie?
John Cusack. I don't remember what I didn't like about that movie.
What's the name of that movie?
It's 3 words. That's all I remember. It's like Glendale Beck or something.
Glendale Beck?
It's something like Glendale Beck. Gross Point Blank.
Gross Point Blank. You're right. It is 3 words. What about the movie with Natalie Portman when she's really young and there's a hitman who's like training her?
Leon the Professional.
Yeah. What about that movie?
I think I liked that movie.
So I think maybe your issue is not necessarily watching a movie about a hitman. I mean, we watched The Killer last year.
Yeah, I like
That was
The
about
Killer.
a hitman.
I like The Killer.
It's just when that subject matter is treated comedically, that's when you start getting all judgy about the characters. If they're actual maniacs in a dark world, you don't have a problem with it.
Perhaps. This
It's
movie.
the snide, like twisty.
It's
you
more
know.
that they're the heroes. At the end of this movie, they're the heroes.
You don't think in with the Natalie Portman movie, the one that you just mentioned?
Yeah.
You don't think what's
Leon the Professional?
You don't think Leon's kind of portrayed as the person you're supposed to root for in that movie?
I don't necessarily remember, but I'm pretty sure you're rooting for Natalie Portman.
No.
No?
No.
You're rooting for Leon?
You're rooting for Leon over the guy he's hunting down.
Again, I don't remember this movie well enough.
Sure.
I just think...
Plus, the hitman in Hitman had a set of rules for what he would say yes to.
He did? What do you mean?
Like, he was only going to do because he wasn't going to do anything because he wasn't an actual hitman. Like they made a point to make sure that the people who are looking for a hit were looking for good reasons.
No. He never did that.
Not reasons that are justified, but good reasons.
He only talked one person out of it, and it was the person that he was attracted to. That was the only time he ever did that. Everyone else, he went to get them arrested. The only person he didn't was the person he had intense chemistry with.
Sure.
He talked her out of it and then asked her out.
I'd have to see it again.
Well, I'm telling you.
I think maybe there's more than one.
There's absolutely not. She's the only one.
What that he talks out of, yes.
Yes.
But they tended to give justification for the person that wanted the hit. Not every time. I'm pretty sure the first guy they didn't do that for, but like some of the other people, they had some justification. It's not enough to kill somebody or have
Well,
somebody
she had
killed.
justification. He was a terrible guy that was controlling her.
Sure, but that's not why he let her off.
Right. He let her off because he was incredibly attracted to her.
Although they did give a reason beyond that, but it was clear that there was a bigger reason.
Yeah.
Now,
I will say, they do have great chemistry. She is incredibly charming, right?
Sure, and so was he. I thought they were both good.
Totally.
I enjoyed everybody in this movie. I thought they were all very well cast.
Yeah.
For what this movie was, which is a Richard Linklater, very kind of by the numbers, his formula, nice core hit man movie. You know what I mean? Like this is his sweet spot, I would say. If you look at his filmography, like it's just one long path to these kinds of movies, basically, for better or for worse, one long path to these kinds of movies. And I enjoyed that. But I also bought into the universe and wasn't upset about the guy at the core of it who wasn't really a hit man.
I feel like to really get this out, we would have to talk spoilers because I can't believe the past you're giving them based on what happens.
It's a dark comedy and it gets dark at the end.
Right.
Like all other dark comedies that have to deal with crimes are committed normally by people who wouldn't typically do them.
Sure.
That's all we have to say.
Yeah, no, but yes, but you're usually the protagonist of a dark comedy, right?
Uh-huh.
Bad, awful things happen.
Sure.
but they don't like will it happen. It's more like accidental, or like they're thrust into a situation where they had to make bad choices or something like that. You know,
At the end of the movie, there's only one choice to make.
like in Fargo, we're from the perspective of like the good cops. You know, that's a dark comedy. That's maybe one of the most famous dark
you don't
comedies.
like that movie either.
I don't, no. But at least the perspective is from like the good cops, right?
Sure.
If the perspective was from, you know, the wood chipper, it would be a very different movie.
Sure. It'd be a lot shorter too.
It would, yeah.
Wood chipper's not in it that much.
No, it's not. Memorably though.
Sure.
But that's fine. That's fine. I mean, the movie is like super watchable. I just like, I got finished with it. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't like that. But you loved it. You were like, yes.
No, I don't even necessarily think I loved it. I think it's a kind of middling Richard Linklater. And it's a safe bet. I think most people could watch this and not be too upset with it.
It's a little cheesy. Isn't it a little cheesy?
It is a little cheesy. Yeah. But that's, like I said, this is Richard Linklater.
Sure.
Of the last 10 years, he's been making these types of movies.
Yeah. Can I ask you about Glenn Powell?
Sure.
Is he a great actor that like we want to see more of? Or is he being like thrust down our throats?
What else was he in that he's being thrust down our throats?
So first thing I saw him is in Maverick, Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
And now I feel like he's going to be in everything. He's in this. He's in the new Twisters movie.
Oh, he's the guy from Twisters.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like he was in that romantic comedy from last year. Say Anything or whatever it's called.
Okay. Say anything.
I feel
Let's
like he's
click
just
Glenn Powell and get our facts correct.
I feel like he's just literally in everything now.
Well, are you talking about Devotion?
Anyone but you. Anyone but you.
Did you see that movie?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I vaguely remember him from Top Gun Maverick. But
vaguely.
I think that's the only other thing I've seen.
He was one of the
him in.
pilots.
Oh, he was John Glenn in Hidden Figures. He was in Everybody Wants. I've seen a bunch of movies that he's been in, but he's never like the main guy.
Well, no, not since Top Gun. Top Gun is where his big break, I would say.
Right, but he wasn't even the main guy in that.
No, but he's one of the main pilots. I mean, he has a lot of screen time in that movie.
Sure.
He's not like a minor character.
I agree, but this is the first movie I've seen where you would say he's the lead.
No, not true. Anyone But You, he was definitely the lead.
The first movie I've seen.
Sure.
Where you would say he's the lead.
Agreed. First one you saw. But again,
right.
He was in Anyone But You, now Hitman, then Twisters. And I just feel like we're getting a lot of Glenn Powell all of a sudden.
All I'm saying is give the guy a chance. I mean, he hasn't even been rammed down our throat yet.
Okay.
At least wait till the end of the year to make judgment on whether we've had too much Glenn Powell.
That was my question. There's no judgment in the question. I don't even know where I land on it. I just feel like I'm seeing his face a lot.
Okay. And you're upset about it.
No, I'm curious about it.
Okay.
I feel like he's an industry plant.
An industry plant?
No, but I think the machine is behind him at this point.
Yeah. I mean, he was in a major movie.
Yes. And
evidently people liked him in it, even though I don't really remember him from Top Gun Maverick.
I don't know how you don't remember him from Top Gun Maverick. He's one of the main, he's Iceman, I think.
I've seen that movie 3 times. Yeah. Don't really remember him.
3 times? And
he's Iceman.
But their version of Iceman.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's the pilot that gives.
He's the jerk?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
You've seen it 3 times. I do. Again, I need to back off because I don't want to make fun of a medical condition.
That's not a medical condition.
Face blindness is a medical condition, and I don't want to make fun of it. And I apologize.
I don't have face blindness.
You don't remember Glenn Powell from
memory
Top Gun
blindness.
Maverick. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. The face, the plot, the.
Okay, let me ask you this. What did you think of Hitman?
I enjoyed it as an easy listening watch, I would say. You know what I mean? Like I think it's meant to be casually enjoyed and probably not obsessed over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's meant to be all that intelligent or anything. It's just kind of a fun, goofy comedy that Richard Linklater, who has made a bunch of these over the years. Definitely has a style to him. And over time, it's gotten more and more formulaic.
Mhm.
And so it's been a while since he's been able to surprise me with something that's non-animated, I would say. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I do enjoy his movies. They're never like 5-star movies for me, but they're always very, this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but like just well made for what they are. You know what I mean? Like the lighting in this movie was flawless. Maybe you don't need flawless lighting.
No.
You know what I mean? Like literally, like everything, it was clear they lit everything in this movie.
So I would describe, I understand what you're saying in that there was no like unlit mistakes.
The production was
but flawless
as
implies like impeccable. I think the lighting lacked anything interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's gotten to be perfection at what he does and how he wants it. And I'm just, God, I don't know, maybe do a whole movie on an iPhone, pull a Soderbergh. You know what I mean? Like
that's
challenge yourself a little.
That's something he could maybe do.
Sure. And back in the day, that's something he would do.
Sure. With the Sunset series. Yeah.
Right. He was very experimental, and maybe
the Before series.
Maybe all of those things have run their course, and now he's just kind of like a guy who makes fun scripts that only take him a year and a half to get done.
Do you feel like this movie is most like Bernie?
It's pretty close to Bernie. Yeah. I like Bernie better. I think Bernie is funnier than this movie. But I mean, this movie's close to like Everybody Wants Some. I like his 70s based movies that people love. Dazed and Confused. I think it has more to do with those than it has to do with pretty much anything else in his filmography. It's just the 30 plus years on guy making that movie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And back when he made those, he made them for like almost no money. It has a youthful energy to it, but it's the exact same comedy and the exact same pace as Hitman. It's just now we have 8K cameras and inexpensive lighting and a Netflix budget.
Yeah.
And so this is what you end up making when you're in your mid 50s and you're not in your early 20s anymore.
Okay, here are black comedies that I like.
Okay, let's hear it.
Better Off Dead.
Okay. I like that movie a lot.
Barton Fink.
Okay.
Hot Fuzz.
Sure.
In Bruges.
I've seen that on black comedy lists. I wouldn't call it a black comedy, but
okay.
Sure.
Big Lebowski.
Okay.
Snatch.
All right.
I don't know. There's others. They don't really seem like black comedies. I liked Weekend at Bernie's. We never talk about that movie.
We don't. Why don't we ever talk about that movie?
No.
We really should talk about that movie.
Elf is listed as a black comedy on this list.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust that list if that's a black comedy.
It's a strange inclusion.
For sure.
But I like Elf, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line with Hitman is that I was not surprised by anything in the movie. And maybe I'm getting closer to the point where that's a problem when it comes to Richard Linklater. But also, like, his style is pretty specific. And I'd rather him make these movies than not make movies.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
But also, I like that he does this. And like a year or two before, he did like Apollo 10.5. Like 10 years earlier than that, he's doing like other animated weird experiments. Boyhood was 10 years ago now. That was the last kind of experimental drama he did.
Maybe I'll say this, okay? This is my definitive take on Richard Linklater. On his things that are like not very planned, that are just kind of like, hey, let's get in a room and figure it out and see what comes out in the edit kind of a thing.
Sure.
I think he's amazing. And the things that are like, okay, let's write a script and set our shoot schedule and like hire our actors and like have a food budget and those kind of things just feel so disposable to me by him.
So School of Rock is disposable.
With every rule of thumb, there's an exception, right, James?
Sure.
That's what I'm
saying. Like, there's 10 of them, like what you described, but there's also 3 or 4 that are really good.
Sure.
So it's not 100% batting average. I'll give you that for sure. I mean, I just watched Last Flag Flying, which is a movie that came out like in 2019.
Okay.
You've never heard of. Has Steve Carell in it. Has
Bryan Cranston.
Like people that you should know their names type of thing. And the guy for The Matrix.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Wow. So like those are 3 guys that I like as actors and had never heard of that movie, watched it this weekend. Man, that is a straightforward drama that has a little bit of comedy in it that was hard to watch.
And Glenn Powell was in it.
He was in it?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to see if you...
yeah, maybe I'd do a face blindness if that was true.
He played Lawrence Fishburne.
That would be... He's quite a chameleon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's movies in there that don't work, but when they work, they work. I mean, he's like the Dazed and Confused and Slacker guy.
Yes.
So to me, who has an attachment to him, I don't care how bad they get. I'll keep watching them.
Sure. Yeah.
Do I think Hitman or even Hitman is like the worst movie he's ever made? By a long shot. It's just kind of in the middle.
Right. No, it's very watchable. I just, at the end, I was just like, definitely left a bad taste in my mouth.
How many Netflix originals have you watched lately?
I've watched none.
Right.
Yeah.
This is as good as they get these days. I'm telling you. There is nothing good that they're making.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything that blew my socks off from Netflix since Marriage Story.
That blew your socks off?
I thought that was a great drama.
You
didn't like that movie?
No,
very well made.
That's a different question than blew my socks off.
Okay. It blew my socks off. I like that movie a lot. I'm not going to incessantly rewatch it because it's a painful movie for the characters.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I want to live in that world over and over and over again. But no, I respect the movie a lot.
All right.
Yeah, that didn't knock your socks off.
No.
I thought you loved that movie.
I liked it a lot.
Okay. So it didn't knock your socks off. But
no.
What do you call that? An idiom? What would you use to describe
What
it?
idiom would I use to describe A Marriage Story?
Yeah. If not, knocked your socks off.
Just utterly astounding. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not an idiom.
I'm joking. It's not an idiom.
Am I using that right? Idiom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
A turn of phrase.
Just impressed myself.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much.
James, you always impress me. Marriage Story, I don't know. I don't think about that movie anymore.
I think about it all the time.
Do you?
Yeah. That scene where they're arguing.
That's the only thing I can remember from that movie.
So good. The whole movie is them arguing, but that one scene where they're arguing is like, so good.
He hit the wall. It seemed a little bit like he knew he was going to hit the wall. It didn't seem authentic.
You think they telegraphed that he hit the wall?
No, I think he knew. I think he knew he was going to hit the wall.
Well, yeah, they moved the camera so he could hit the wall.
Yeah.
You think he improvised punching a hole in the wall?
No, I think he didn't. That's the thing. It felt a little bit like he knew he was going to do that.
I think he knew he was going to do it.
No, I agree. I'd say that's a bad thing. Wouldn't it have been better?
I don't feel like he knew he was going to do it. I think he knew he was going to do it, and it didn't feel like that because it was so good.
Oh, I thought he knew he was going to do it.
Okay. Well, sorry.
And he did it.
Sorry, they didn't hide the twist enough for you of the wall punching in Marriage Story.
No, the scene felt so authentic. Like they were.
Until he punched the wall?
And then I was like, oh, I think that was always the plan. Right?
Yes.
Wouldn't it have been better if like that was not the plan and he just did it in the authentic moment? That would have been cool.
As the director, I would not be excited if one of my actors punched a wall without letting me know ahead of time.
What? No. As a director, you would be excited that they're that like in the moment, they're making choices.
No.
You hire actors to make choices.
I'd be like, I don't have drywall people on order here. If we have to take another take, there's a big freaking hole in the wall.
No, you have drywall people.
No, you don't have drywall people on call just in case somebody punches a wall. Especially in that movie. It was low budget.
You better have one. You hire actors to make choices. You don't want to tell them all their choices.
But when somebody's going to punch a hole in the drywall, they have to tell the director ahead of time that they're going to do that.
I'm just saying, if it was in the spur of the moment, like in the heat of the argument, that would have been cool.
But it wasn't.
Exactly.
And it didn't feel like it.
So how do you even know which it was if it didn't feel like that?
What? I'm telling you, it wasn't. I don't know that for a fact. I can feel it in my bones.
Love it. What are you letterboxing Hit Man?
That's a good question. I'm going to give this a 3.5.
Okay.
What are you going to give it?
So this was like a full star better than your average version of
average version of this kind of movie. Sure.
Okay. It didn't feel like very much middle of the road, this version of this?
No, I found it charming and funny at times.
Yeah.
And none of the characters bothered me.
Sure.
But if they did, I could see how you wouldn't like it.
No, I found it charming.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he was unbelievable as these characters, I felt like. It just didn't seem like a real person.
When's the last time you watched The Saint?
It felt very much like Val Kilmer. Absolutely like that.
Because he's not believable in that movie as any of the characters he is.
No, I totally agree with that. And that movie's a little cheesy.
For sure. So is this.
And what's funny is Glenn Powell played the Val Kilmer character in Top Gun Maverick.
Bringing it all together.
I'm giving it 2 stars.
2?
Yeah.
Brutal.
I didn't care for it.
No. It's way better than that.
It's way better than that.
Let's say the last 20 minutes of the movie was a different outcome. How many more stars is it getting? Because it feels like you were okay with it until a line was crossed.
It would get 3.25 stars.
So it almost lost a full star.
Yeah. Just
because the characters do what they would have done had anybody been writing this.
No, that's not the case. The choice that they make is a wild choice that a different movie wouldn't have done. Also, the very last scene, ridiculous. I don't know why that was the last scene.
I don't remember it.
I know you don't, but that ridiculous.
I'm curious to know what the very last scene is, but now we'll never know. I can only watch it once. All right, a 2 and a 3.5 for Hit Man.